That's now in charge of revenue, too.
Good evening and welcome to the Norfolk Board of Selectmen's meeting of Tuesday, June 12th. My name is Jim Lehan. To my right is Mr. Rob Garrity. To my left is Mr. Scott Bugby. To his left is Mr. Jack Hathaway, our town administrator, and the one that keeps us all straight and narrow, our executive assistant, Marion Harrington. I need to advise you that this meeting is being audio and video taped this evening. Mr. Hathaway, were you, I apologize. And to my right, far right of Mr. Garrity, is Mr. Scott Bragdon, who is our Human Resource Director. Jack, would you please read the agenda?
I'd be happy to. First order of business, we have a liability insurance review, and we have Mr. Neil Cross from the Insurance Advisory Committee joining us for that. In addition, we have the town administrator report, including action items on the amended and confirmatory order of taking for Myrtle and Miller Street. We have a review of property line adjustment over by Gump's Farm. We have, actually, we're going to defer the declaring of equipment at the Freeman Centennial School. Then we have discussion items, including the Board of Selectmen goals, Gump's Farm, construction of affordable housing units, review of upcoming appointments by the Board of Selectmen, and we have acceptance of minutes, and then we have executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I just want to start with a brief statement. It's just, you know, we've been at work at this for a couple of months now. We are at a point where we don't quite have the final numbers because we're trying to make everything apples to apples in the quotes. And we're also, Neil is doing the final review of the actual policies. Because, you know, we're familiar with the Barry policies, but the Maya policies are new, so we're going through those and making sure the exclusions are all right, et cetera, so that we're able to do that. I also want to say that we have back in the committee Mr. Dyer, who's an attorney and does he litigates a lot of insurance cases, and we're very lucky to have him. And Neil, who is new to the committee, this is what he has done for career, and so we're very lucky to have him. He knows a ton more than the rest of the committee, and he's been a tremendous amount of work in reviewing not only the current policies and getting Barry this year to kind of fill some of the holes. I know I mentioned some of them to you earlier, but also in helping us get ready for making a decision this year. So, Neil, so we're going to give you an overview of the process we've been through and kind of where we're at.
We started back in March, and you know, we took the existing program and took a look at it and found that there were some confusing items in there, and very concerned about valuation, accurate valuation of the buildings, and then there were endorsements in there that were a little confusing. So we went to Barry with a review and said, you know, here's a list of things that we're concerned about. Number one being the valuation, and the way the policy was written, we'd probably get it wouldn't go well for us in the event of a large claim. We'll put it to you that way. And then there were other things that happen in a town. It's a typical municipal thing where exposures pop up during the year and no one tells the insurance agent, and then, you know, because no one knows it's not covered. Mm-hmm. You know, for instance, Hillary rescued a horse last winter. Had that horse gotten loose and kicked somebody, we would have first dollar. We wouldn't have had defense. We wouldn't have had anything. It would have been right in our pockets. Same thing with the school bus. You know, we have an exclusion that says no transportation of school children. Well, apparently we do transport a school child sometimes.
We do.
During the year. So therefore that, again, would have been first dollar, would be out of luck, out of pocket. So there were 4 or 5 other little things like that we wanted to make sure we covered. Gump's Farm had a little bit of gray area on it because of the way we bought it and a couple other things. So Barry did a great job of diving in there, going back to travelers and saying, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good, you know, change this, and they pretty much acquiesced on everything that we asked. So that was all good. And then we went into this valuation process of taking the schedule, going through and saying, what do we actually have here? You know, what are these 30 locations, and do we actually know what we have? And there were some interesting things. There were some, you know, we had a building that we don't have, and we were insuring it. You know, so, and no one could figure out what it ever was. It was on the schedule for 15 years. And
what was this building?
Some building that was supposedly to dump. And
it's a 2,500 square foot building.
It doesn't exist.
Yes, at the
transfer station.
Transfer station, yes.
With $200,000 worth of equipment in it, and nobody could. We walked around the dump, and I talked to the guys, and they said, There's no, you know.
That's
They-
the
they-
water building, Jack.
They only wish.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a wishful thinking
So,
building.
so we got that taken care of, and then technically we're still waiting for the contractor on the new school to get back to us with some final numbers. Not only what the construction cost is for the building and the contents, although we think we have the right number, and then when is he taking over responsibility for the old school, because that comes off the schedule. We'll get a credit for that for one thing, and we also want to make sure we don't have the liability when he starts doing it. So. You know, he's supposed to send us copies of the policy, additional insured endorsements, and he hasn't. And so that's kind of frustrating. But we think we've got a close enough number that, you know, the numbers that we're getting from the other carriers will be okay. But going forward, that's the kind of stuff, especially if we're going to start doing construction, we have to apply a stringent set of rules on these guys, or we'll get killed. We'll absolutely get killed. You know, so that would be just something out of the, you know, that come out of all of this, is that there really is a, you know, somebody's got to get on top of that stuff. You know, because a lot of the reason we have a hard time with these values is, you know, the DPW's got a list of vehicles, and, you know, the police have a list of vehicles, and so when they change vehicles, it doesn't all go to a central repository, at least that I can tell. And therefore, when the time comes to look at the schedule, only one that knows is Barry, if someone told Barry. Same thing with the buildings. The building goes on, building goes off. We don't insure it, we do insure it. We just got to make sure everybody sends it all to the same place, and we keep a file in a central location to have all of that. And that's been the hardest part of the process, is frankly getting the buildings and the values, and, you know, where we want them. So, it's workers' comp, payrolls, same thing. At the end of the day, it all has to go to one spot. So we decided we would get a bid this year. We would do bids. So we brought Barry in. We said, you know, what's the market? And they basically said there are 5 carriers that we can go to. They won't all be interested, but we'll try. And then the other option would be to go to the interlocal, to go to Maya, and see the pool, and get them to quote. So we had meetings with both of them. We gave them the preliminary information. They went out, they did their due diligence, and literally I was getting quotes at 5:20 this afternoon. So, you know, we're still, you know, right at but at least now the numbers they're giving us are apples to apples as far as the number of employees and the payrolls we're using and the values we're using and the number of vehicles we're using. Whereas the first quotes they gave us, this guy's got 86 vehicles, this guy's got 74 vehicles, you know, it's all over. So that's basically where we are. They're about 6% apart, 6.5% apart, depending on what payment plan you take. Our exposure base went up 20-something%. Actually, it would have been higher if we hadn't taken off some of the things we took off, but, you know, for argument's sake, 20% higher exposure base, and it's going to cost about 20% more. It'd still be within the budget that Jack made.
That increase is because of the new school.
So it's all the new school. It's basically all of it. But they gave us good rates. The coverage is good, and now the next step is to sit down and say, okay, is the rest of it, is the form and the coverage right? So that, you know, if you give me a $100,000 limit for this, are you giving me that, or is there? And then where are the trade-offs? The biggest factor is Barry's gone with Travelers. It's guaranteed cost. Whatever we pay at the end of the year. That's it. That's a snapshot in time. Maya technically can assess us at a later date if things go bad for Maya.
Do they assess us? Well, I think you just answered the question, actually. I was a little premature in it. Is the assessment based on their pool, or is it based on our experience?
I think it's based on the pool. I'm asking him he hasn't given me that final contract wording yet, but I think it's based on
Based on
both.
pool.
You know, if we're bad, they just throw us out.
But that's a whole different issue.
Yeah. So, but yes, just like with MEGA, we could, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we could get a bill for $25,000. However, we did force them to give us some information that they don't generally share, which is their reinsurance schedule. It's pretty good. I mean, the odds of them assessing us on this year based on the reinsurance program they have would be pretty slim. I mean,
What's their max cap, just out of curiosity?
billions and billions. I mean, it was a huge,
Big number.
Yeah, and
huge
their coinsurance is based on incidents per town, so, you know,
It would be-
the thing we're worried about is, God forbid, a tornado comes
Right, well, that's
through
what I was thinking.
5 towns here that they all are insuring.
Right.
You know, when it costs $1 billion, they've got 75 million in reserves. You got 100, but they're going to.
They have 75 million in reserves, but they have billions in reinsurance, and it
That's
attaches,
right.
and it attaches it.
Reinsurance is the only thing that counts.
Yeah, it's the only thing that counts.
Reserves, we don't
It's
count.
all A-rated, and I don't know where the hell it is, but
We do have it if you.
I have it. I can give it
I
to you.
would like to see that.
Yeah, it's, I'll go through it, it's here somewhere, but it's solid. There's a $100,000 cap before they come in again, and there's a $300,000 per event thing. So even if a Brimfield-like event happened in this part of the state, I still don't think, I think the reinsurance would take care of it. And it's all Gen Re and, Berkshire Hathaway and stuff, so I mean, my instinct is not to do that kind of a deal. If you can get guaranteed cost, you take guaranteed cost. But the due
My
diligence.
instincts as well.
Yeah, but the way they're laid out, if the savings is big enough and we decide at the end of the day it's close enough, I'm not uncomfortable saying we can take a year on that,
You're 6% apart right now?
about 6.5%. So,
The other
So
thing that's.
close to 20 grand.
yeah.
The other thing that's driving costs up at this point is that they've changed the hurricane zones. It used to be just along the towns along the coast, and now it's all of Middlesex County and Norfolk County, et cetera, and other places. So we're now in that hurricane zone, which means that obviously.
I was really surprised, actually. I thought it would be a lot worse. I mean, the combination of the new school plus Norfolk now being a flood zone and a wind zone, yeah, I mean, it could have been huge. And basically, Berry lowered their rate, and Maya's even less than that. So I don't know how they did it, but it works
No
for
one
us.
asked.
It works for us,
Yeah.
so.
Scott,
So- Go
that
ahead.
missing DPW building, you sure it's not the DPW building that's behind Old Town Hall? Because it sounds like about the right
That's
size
listed
building.
on there.
Really?
I went around and took pictures. I went to every address and took photographs of everything. And I sat down with Mr. Vito, and we went through it. He goes, "Damned if I know."
It's actually funny. It's sad, but funny.
So it was. But I think we have an accurate view now, and it's solid. So once we get the school figured out, then it'll all fall into place.
Questions? Scott?
Nope.
Bob?
It's all Greek to me, Neil.
The other thing, when we're done
God,
with
you
this
know.
and Jack makes the final decision on what we're gonna go with, we're gonna work on what insurances we should have when we're doing construction and other projects we take these on, so that the Bobs or, the housing trusts or whatever, when they enter in a project, they'll have a guide to go by to say, this is what we need to do.
It's a good question. Yeah.
There might be a change in police policy this year, and we might be adding tasers, and that might have some sort of liability connection.
It shouldn't, because they're allowed to have guns. So I mean, hopefully the taser.
Well, it might help it.
No, it might help it. It might help it. But on the other hand, they're also more likely to use it. So you get into a whole another thing there.
We'll make sure they know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll tell them. I mean, that's part of the process. That also, then we also have to send out a letter to abutters, in my opinion, to the abutters of our vacant land that we have in different places, so that they don't store stuff on it, and then we end up with an easement. So some of those things over by Populatic Pond, they're like trailer caps and stuff. I can't tell exactly what our land is. It's kind of in there, but
No, I can think of two instances, though. That,
yeah. So we got to at least regularly send out a letter to abutters and says, if you cannot use this land, if you have something on it, it's got to be taken away. So.
But if they take the land and then it gets back on the tax roll,
You can't do adverse possession against the town.
Jack is out of this. Are we going to set up a process that ensures that because changes take place during the course of
sure.
the year. We buy, sell, things happen. We're going to have a
Yeah.
process in place that will,
I mean, we're trying to set up the standards for that.
Yeah.
So that people will, first they're aware that, okay, I just bought this house, I gotta insure it, they know who to call, they know what the standards are gonna be, what they have to do. Same for construction projects.
It's any subcontractor that any committee of the town hires. There are requirements. You got to give us a certificate, and you have to give us this limit, and you have to prove to us you have insurance.
what are our per event caps on this? Do you know?
Per event caps on the liability?
Yeah.
$1 million.
Okay.
It's $1.3 million, which, we haven't come anywhere near that.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah, that's what- but then again, the more we do, the more it could happen,
we need, the construction, we need to look at that related to the Gumps construction. We got to make sure that whoever the contractor is has the insurance in place.
Well,
The contract requires that. Yeah.
But there's another thing we could require. There's also something called an OCP policy.
Right.
And frankly, we should make them give them to us. I mean, they want to work. You know, it's not like 10 years ago where like they're doing us a favor. You know, everybody wants to work. It's not a big deal to get it, and then we're way out of it. You know, we get named on their policy. We've got the OCP. We don't step into it.
You're absolutely right. We should require
So we're
that.
in the millions.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, that's little things.
From my vast
No, that's a big
experience
thing.
with major
Yeah,
liability
no,
insurance.
That's a big
It's-
thing.
it's-
Yeah, because that takes the town off the hook.
Takes us totally off the hook.
Yeah.
You know, we just hand them the policy. It's all yours. Go away. So, especially on something as big as the school. I mean, that's you know.
Yeah.
So.
Neil, you've been terrific.
Oh, thank you.
I can't thank you enough for delving into this to the degree that you have, and Scott, thank you as well for
No problem.
getting this done. So you're going to have, I mean, our policies are up July 1, June 30th, so we've got
We're
that to
hoping
renew
by
by.
Monday, well, probably Tuesday, to go to Jack and say, okay, at the end of the day, here are the real germane differences, and here's the price difference. You know, make a decision. You know, and it'll be in there. You know, it'll be in that.
So the fundamental difference basically is the opportunity for a company to come back and assess versus a fixed expense.
That's the negative
And
possibility.
you're paying for that differential.
And now also there's a chance we could get a dividend too. I mean, they also pay dividends. So, you know.
Maya does,
Maya
Travelers
No,
doesn't.
Travelers not. No.
They only pay it to stock, they only pay it to stockholders.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, yeah, I mean, it's a, you know, but again, it is guaranteed cost versus that. And they're much more solid than MEGA was, ever was. You know.
What's been the experience in Maya in terms of dividend or assessments?
They have never had an assessment in 18 years, they tell us. They've paid some dividends, you know, and decent ones. They're also, what do they call them? Not loans, awards that we can get, $5,000 or $10,000 a
Yeah,
year.
we've had that.
Of you know, loss control type,
Right.
to get, you know,
Yeah.
classes, and we can buy fire equipment, we can buy, so, you know, and our experience is pretty good at this point, you know, so we would probably qualify, you know, at least.
If all things keep going the way they
things
have.
going the way they're
Yeah.
going, you know, so,
And we've had a
Yeah.
good relationship with them on our health insurance side.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've had some benefit from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they will offer a 5% discount if we pay upfront.
Well, we paid last year, I believe, in 2 payments, did we not? 2 installments?
We pay the majority of it up front.
Okay.
So that's another concern.
And we'll get a 5% discount if we pay it upfront or in 2 payments,
upfront.
Upfront.
One payment. But it's,
which were budgeted and we have the cash flow?
I can't guarantee, I can't speak to the cash flow off the top of my head, but I know we're budgeted for it.
I know we're budgeted, but I mean, the cash flow, it's all about cash flow. Yeah.
285 shouldn't be a huge problem. No.
Okay.
We do that with our pension costs and
That's
and
14 grand.
other things. too.
Let's now add that to the 6% differential.
yeah, now we haven't asked Travelers if they offer something similar, so, you know, that's another thing we have to go back to them at. So there's still a question about some payroll differences too, but, you know, that's where it is. I mean, it's that close, you know.
The new school contribution, how much is that? Dollar-wise?
28 million supposedly.
No. The addition to the liability, potential
The
liability,
cost differential between the
Cost.
old and the new school.
20%.
which is
20% of their component or 20% of the total cost?
They don't break it down, so
Okay.
you have to back into it with the, so the old school, we were carrying at 15 million, this is 28 million, the rate's the same.
So logic would say it's twice as much.
Yeah, almost.
so probably 20% of the total.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing is driven, the new school drives the whole thing, even taking off some of the other things and lowering the contents on some things, it's still, you know.
Add that to our side of the ledger on the benefits we're giving the school.
I actually was waiting for that.
Well, actually, no, actually, I should say this, the new school is 100%.
Took you a little longer than I thought.
Yeah, that does help.
The new school is 100% sprinklered, so there actually was a rate reduction.
Oh, well, that's
On the
our
fire
average
side,
rate,
right.
Because the other school was not 100% sprinkled.
Right.
But it's still a lot.
Still more, but it could be
Yeah.
much worse, much worse.
And you know, the panels we don't have to deal with at all. Those are,
Yeah, we checked that out early on, because that's an exclusion also, you know, if at any point. But even there, he should be giving us an OCP, and he should be giving us a cert that says we have nothing to do with this, and it's his, you know, it's.
Yeah, you raise a good point on that. We should get that,
You know,
and we don't have it.
that's in the contract.
Well, it's in the contract,
solar
but
panels.
we don't have the policy. You're correct on that. We really should do that.
Any subcontract, doesn't
Right.
matter what it is.
And it's no big deal on their part. And it takes any gray area, no potential litigation. It's off the table if you have that.
It'd be hard, for a real little guy, it'd be hard to get the OCP. You know, for a real little guy.
Yeah, but we don't have real little guys doing this, too.
Yeah, at this stage, you know, but, yeah, anybody that's putting, putting a shovel in the ground or hammer in their hand, I would.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Scott, any?
Nope.
Rob, anything else?
We've exhausted my knowledge of liability insurance.
Thank you very much.
I'll look forward to working with those guys on Monday and Tuesday.
Neil, thank you very, very
you're
much.
welcome.
Please,
No-
please
no
give my
problem.
very, very best to Marty.
I will. She's probably watching, actually.
Hi, Marty.
So you're winning now, so.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
thanks. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
That's really good to have that type of thorough evaluation done. Good job. Nicely done, Mr. Hathaway.
Well, Mr. Bragdon brought in Mr. Cross, so I got to give him credit for that. We've gone through, every 2 to 3 years, we really assemble a new insurance committee, and they go through all of our policies, and this sounds certainly like the most thorough process. It's all good.
Okay, Jack?
Jim? We have an amended and confirmatory order of taking for the sightline easement at the intersection of Myrtle and Miller Streets as requested by Town Council.
Mr. Tomaszewski, I hope you're watching, sir.
I don't think you want me to read
It's
the
unfortunate
three-page
as it is to do
document.
this.
So this is just to allow us to take a sightline easement and
Do you need
whatever
our
we
signatures
to
or
do.
vote?
Yep, it says here at the regularly convened meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Norfolk held this 12th day of June.
12th.
It was voted and ordered that the Board of Selectmen and the Town of Norfolk duly elected, qualified, and acting as such on the behalf of the town by virtue of and in accordance with the authority of the provisions of Chapter 79 of General Laws as amended, the vote taken under Article 12 of the May 11th and 12th Annual Town Meeting, a certified copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and any and every other power and authority that is hereunto in any way enabling hereby takes on behalf of the town for the purpose of a sightline easement at the intersection of Myrtle Street and Miller Street, described in a deed recorded with the Norfolk Registry of Deeds in Book 23-410, page 566, identified as Assessor's Map 9, Parcel 6, Lot 12. Said easement comprising 1,162 square feet, more or less, as shown on a sketch plan entitled Available Intersection Site Distance and Permanent Easement Acquisition, attached hereto as Exhibit A, incorporated herein.
Okay. It's unfortunate that we have to do this. I think we were all hopeful that we could have done this in a more amiable way. Any questions, Mr. Garrity?
Why was it amended, Jack?
It was a, just a typographical issue. It might have, Katie Klein from Copeland and Page needed to make a change. Something in the way it was recorded the first time. And I don't know exactly where the issue was, and it was apparently more than just a Scribner type error, but.
Okay.
Scott?
Well, I move the amended and confirmatory order of taken as read by Jack Hathaway,
Do I have a
and
second?
including the parts not read.
Sorry. Do I have a, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? One question, Jack. When do we act on this?
She'll now record it. We've got up to 30 days to record it. Obviously, we're going to try and record it as quickly as possible, and then we'll take action.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Ready? You can sign the.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Obviously not. Thank you, gentlemen. You get the top line.
Ooh. Thanks a
Happy
lot.
birthday, Rob.
Is this your birthday?
No.
Jim, your birthday was last week?
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
And what was it, Mr. Lehan?
34th.
Excellent.
Actually, it was the 30th, 34th I think I've had.
Mine's in 9 days. My daughter was this weekend, 16.
I prefer mine, actually.
So let me tell you a difference between dealing with the state and dealing with the town.
I'm glad
Do
you
we
brought
have a
this up.
moment? Do we have a moment?
Oh, by all means.
This was, I was able to introduce my...
Is this the entertainment moment?
This is the entertainment. This is the
Are you okay with this?
I'm okay with it.
the break in our program. So my daughter turned 16. You can get your learner's permit when you're 16. So this administration has created all sorts of wonderful online website ability to do things. You get on there and you can schedule a test. So I went on to schedule a test, and it wouldn't let me schedule a test in any registry near to me. They wanted to send me to Raynham. I wanted to go to Milford. I looked at the Milford site, and it actually has waiting times for things. It said for licenses, 0 wait. And for registrations, there was like a 35-minute wait. Attleboro, the license wait was 1 hour and 2 minutes. So I said, I'm going to go to Milford. Then I got a little suspicious. So as we're driving there, I call the registry to try and call Milford to say, do you actually do driver's permits, learner's permits? And I got into the electronic device, the electronic queue, and we listened to some great soft adult contemporary music on the way to Milford. So 23 minutes later, we roll into Milford, still haven't gotten a human being. We get in, and we see a lot of people there, and the gentleman at the desk says, I say, we're here to do a learner's permit, and the gentleman at the desk says, system's down. Can't do them. But call this number before 4. Now, this is about 2:45. Call this number before 4, and they'll tell you whether or not the system's up. I looked at the number. It was the same number I'd been on hold for 23 minutes. So I informed him I'd called this number. As a matter of fact, it's probably still on hold on my phone, and you can't talk to a human there either, so I'm not obviously going to get any result there. So we drove home without any sort of learner's permit, and she's still...
Happy drive home. I just had a 16-year-old.
It was naturally my fault. All right?
Was that up for grabs?
No, it was naturally my fault that this happened. And had we even had an appointment, it still would have not worked. So she learned that's what happens when you deal with the state. Having said that, you go to the town. I actually spoke to humans today in 4 different town offices that helped me with problems. It was quite refreshing. If the town would give out learner's permits, I'd be very happy.
Have the library do it.
I don't know if you...
Might as well start it.
I think it should be recreation, personally.
That's part of that. Sorry, Ed.
You can go online to register for a driver's test. However, the computer doesn't allow you to make a test date 2 weeks out, I believe the time is. And you can't get a test date within 2 weeks because the registry has stopped using state police officers to probably save us money or something, and they use civilian testers who actually take like twice the time that the state police guys took. And the state police guys, there were a lot of them, so they would just come in and run through the lines. So people are having to call up and I guess leave their names on pieces of paper or something to get a driver's test. This is what I've read in the Globe recently. So this is really some great, quality government we got running here. So
You're not looking for a job at the State House anytime soon.
Well, certainly not at the registry, that's for sure.
not at the registry.
So maybe we should put on the agenda from now on, a community update by Mr. Garrity on all of the important factors that we need to know. Thank you at home for those of you going to the registry. Take Rob.
We could have a red, yellow, green if my daughter's on the road. If it's red when she's definitely out there, you don't want to get there. But.
I'm sorry you had such a problem.
I mean, apropos.
What's next on the agenda, Mr. Hathaway?
Please consider voting to make an adjustment to the property line on Osborne's property.
I guess I should give you some background on this. When the Osbornes were owners of or part owners of the Gubbs property, I think you both know that. I guess you have to recuse yourself from this one. So you and I better get along on this, Rob. When the property was sold, some of the surveying or engineering, I'm not sure which is the appropriate term to say, but the property lines were not delineated quite correctly. And the property line for the property that the town bought actually goes through about 6 feet of the driveway of the Osborne's home. It was an honest mistake. Whether it was on their part or our part, I don't think anybody really knows.
Was this a problem with the original Gump's boundary?
Could very well be. we really don't know how the mistake was made. We've tried to kind of uncover it, and, you reach a point where you say it doesn't matter. And we don't need that land. I mean, it doesn't make the property, any less compliant. The lot is still a compliant lot next to their home. None of that is an issue. The Municipal Housing Trust has voted to fund the engineering necessary, which is minimal. This is not a big-ticket item, to fix the property line, to ensure that the lot remains consistent with what needs to be done, but make sure that we don't have to take their driveway in the process. But because the Board of Selectmen own the land, we need to vote to authorize that. I've met with the Osbornes. They're incredibly nice, supportive people of this entire project. Not that that matters, one way or the other. This is an issue of right or wrong. Right. And this was an honest mistake. And fixing it doesn't cost us anything.
Right.
So
Nobody's lot is non-conforming.
nobody's lot no. No, this doesn't jeopardize any of the lots or in any way compromise the town's position. It just allows the Osbornes to retain 6 feet of their driveway.
Is this the one on the corner of Boardman and?
Yeah, Cordman and Medway Branch.
Medway Branch.
Boardman, and, what did I say, Cordman? Boardman and Medway
The
Branch.
tree graveyard?
Pardon?
The above-ground tree graveyard?
That's the one,
Okay.
yeah. So, that, as I say, the trust has voted to do that, but because the loan is, the land, I'm having trouble with words tonight. It's the registry, it's got me all worked up. We need to
Do we need to vote an actual dimension? Do we need,
My understanding is no. We just need to authorize, or would you agree, Jack?
I would, just authorize the Municipal Housing
right.
Trust to have the engineering done, and then you can vote to execute whatever
However it ends up.
transfer has to happen.
All right,
So if you're agreeable, I would entertain a motion.
I move to authorize
Yeah,
the
Scott,
Municipal
you should
Housing Trust
Recuse
to
yourself, so.
correct the defect in the taking, rather than purchase.
Well said. I will second. I believe Mr. Bugby, as an abutter, has to recuse himself from this. So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a vote. And you, Meryl, I know you will. I'm asking a ridiculous question. You're too efficient not to.
Is the affected parcel going to be the both Gumps and the new low-income parcel, or just this affordable housing parcel?
There is no low
I know. I'm sorry.
parcel
That's
there.
why I said affordable.
Let's make sure we get that one right.
Just in case somebody's watching. So it's just the affordable housing.
It is only the lot to the left.
Yeah.
It's the only. It's the back line is correct. It's that the line
It's the
comes
sideline.
too far forward. It was supposed to follow the stone wall. If you look at that, there's a stone wall there.
Yeah,
It was supposed
yeah.
to follow the stone wall. For whatever reason, it didn't. And it encroached about 10 feet into their property and took about 6
So the
feet.
surveyor screwed up.
Somebody screwed up. Yeah. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it was on our side. But at this point, it
This is
doesn't
when
matter.
they- Oh, did we survey the land? Oh, we did.
We did. CPC did. Yeah. Oh, well, they didn't physically. I mean, they hired someone to do it. I think it was, well, we won't say the name. But I do think that's what the mistake was made. I actually think it was on our side. And they didn't know until all of a sudden we start posting, marking the land to build the homes,
Right.
and all these little orange flags show up and said, wow, gee, that's right down their driveway.
It's a good thing that was caught now instead of when they tried to sell their house or
You
something.
bet. You bet. So anyway, thank you for the vote. Mr. Hathaway.
We had an item there to declare the equipment at the school, the Freeman Centennial School, as surplus. We're still going to do that, but not for 2 more weeks. I don't have the list of property from the contractor, so I can't tell you. It's a whole bunch of small desks and bookcases.
Is that the stuff they're shipping to Haiti?
Yeah. Wish I had the list, but I don't. Supposed to have it this end of this week. So the next item was to talk about Board of Selectmen goals for the coming year.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do here is, I'd like each of us to sort of contribute to. I'm really having problems with words tonight. I don't know.
It was your birthday the other day, right?
It doesn't have anything to do with that. Oh, is this an age reference, Jack?
No.
Thanks very much. Okay. We did get that contract renewed, didn't we?
all set.
Okay. If it's agreeable with you, I'd like sort of each of us to kind of rotate through this and take one that we feel is important and talk about why and what we'd like to get done. So, Scott, I'll give you first crack because you got 11 to choose from.
Okay.
So which one do you feel, in your view, is the most important and why?
Oh, the most important for...
To you.
Oh, to
To
me.
you.
I think
If you could pick
well,
only
in
one
order-
goal, which would it be and why?
Number one, I think, because I think the vision for the downtown and our downtown center is of critical importance, and I think getting the grant for the bridge opens up the doors for everything we want to do here in town, so,
So that's an A item for you.
yes.
Mr. Bunting? Mr. Bunting, you're...
You can
All right,
go let 'em
all
go
right,
again.
all
That's-
right, let's
that's it.
hold it. Okay, we'll take a deep breath and start all over. You're Mr. Garrity, aren't you?
I am Mr. Garrity.
Okay, thank you. Rob?
Well, I'm not gonna be, I'm gonna add one
Okay.
that we don't have on this list, which is the Old Town Hall. I think we need to figure out what the hell we're gonna do, pardon me, I'm sorry, what the heck we're gonna do with the Old Town Hall and come to town meeting with a real plan.
I agree with you. Okay. I think a couple of them we can kind of assume that they're routine, like managed financials of prudent
Yeah.
manner and things like that, I think are fairly routine.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
It struck me that there's really two kinds of goals here. There's kind of town administrator goals, and then there's BOS goals. And it's we ran into this a couple of years ago. One of Jack's goals had to do with like the Green Communities Act,
Right.
and then the selectmen decided they didn't want to do that. So, and it's kind of unfair to hold Jack to a standard because of that. So there seemed to be, and actually I almost found 6 of each. So the stuff you're talking about, they're kind of ministerial, you know, like the manage the financials in a prudent manner. That's a real town administrator goal.
I agree. I think what we talked about last time is, as you say, there are two components to this. There's strategic,
Yeah.
and then there's implementation and actual work kind of functions. And I think those are the ones that they're not our goals.
Right.
You know, they're the results of our goals with a little bit of luck. But I agree with you. So I'm focusing on, you know, and we shouldn't have more than 4 or 5.
Yes.
The others become implementation.
Strategic plan for B1. That's a BOS kind of thing.
I couldn't agree, and that was mine, by the way. I couldn't agree more. That we need to work very hard to come up with some very defined, long-term strategic plan that more than likely we'll never complete. More than likely, you know, we'll never see come to complete fruition. But at least it allows the pieces, as they fall into place, to have some sense of stability around a master plan that the town finds acceptable.
Because the bridge is actually a subset of that.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely critical that we get that done and get in place, and it'll serve well for future boards when we're all long gone to be able to, as things come up and they get chances to implement, they'll have an opportunity to say, at least it fits this plan. Otherwise, this thing will be just piecemealed all over the place. So that to me is my choice, and you've got the Old Town Hall, which I agree with. Scott, your turn again.
The number 6, work with the 3 towns to explore new opportunities to regionalize services. Again, I think if not immediate cost savings, it's just better use of resources among the towns. I mean, you know, we talked about before with the ladder truck, we have overlapping resources, and even if you can just do it from a purchasing standpoint, it's important.
I agree. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jack, you want to give or we can both do it, to give a quick Cliff Note version, a little bit less long than the registry consideration, on the meeting that we had with the 3 towns? I don't think
Right
we've
after we do
given.
this, yeah. Or I can do it now if you want.
Is it on there? Are you going to do it on new business?
No, but I thought we'd just finish the goals and then we'll do the regionalized summary,
Okay.
if you want.
Your call, whichever you prefer. Do it later?
Yeah.
Okay. Rob?
I would like to work with with Chief Stone on the taser issue.
Okay. Is that an A or a B level? A
Well,
meaning that
it's-
it's strategic, B meaning that it's more of an implementation consideration.
I think actually that's a strategic
Okay.
issue.
I'm
It's-
not debating,
well,
I'm just asking. Yeah, okay.
I think it's a policy issue rather than just a process issue.
Okay. And I'm going to move up to KP.
You're going to move up to KP?
I'm moving up from in line, from number 9 up to number 4, is what I mean by that.
Okay.
I really think we have to really get involved with KP in their budget process.
Mm-hmm.
And help them help us have a better understanding of really what their needs are and how we can work together to help solve these problems, because we've not been able to do that successfully, any of the towns. And that came up in our 3-town meeting. In fact, it probably dominated the last half of that meeting, talking about how we do this. So that, to me, is a real priority for us. So that would be mine.
Are they asking, is the school reaching out to
They're
at the
willing
same
to
time?
do that.
I was going to say, do they feel like we're heavy-handed, or they
No, it's not. We're not telling them how to do it,
Sure.
Scott. We just when
Communication issue more than anything else.
it's a packaging and communication issue. It's how they go through the process, which, by the way, they've been doing for a long time. It's not new. It's how they go through the process to present their information to the various boards of selectmen and finance committees. And as a result of this process that they've had in place, and I will never forget the conversation you had that time with Dr. Robart. It's very difficult to sort through their material to really come down to a bottom line need, to really understand, one, how they're spending their money, and two, where their needs are. And to give you an example, we had a secondary meeting in which Jack was there, I was there, 2 members of the finance committee, including the chair and Arlie Sterling, advisory committee, the superintendent and the business manager, and the chair of the King Philip School Committee. We were all here in a working session. And however bright you may consider that group, we could not all come up with the same number, with the same data. That's how convoluted the system was. I mean, it was so glaringly obvious, and I think to them as well, that the way they package it and the way they present it, you can't work your way through it to come to really what the need is. And I think there was an acknowledgement that evening that we need to fix that. And when we had our 3-town meeting, that conversation dominated the back end of this meeting, because all 3 towns felt the same. And I hate to use this word, but it was stated by one of the other towns, was that it's a credibility issue. They really, how do you, we all agree they need help and support, but we don't understand how or why. And I talked with the superintendent, and she, to her credit, she's very, very willing and receptive to take input. I mean, very much so. And I also talked with Pat, the chairman. I think he's receptive. I hope so, but certainly gave that impression. So it's not meant to get in their way or tell them how to do it, but if they're going to come to us and say, this is what we need, then we need to be able to really understand that.
Sure.
And if we can help them put that in a form that even people at home can understand, so that when we talk about how we're going to fund KP and what the repercussions are for lack of funding, we're all on the same page, and it's real, it's meaningful.
Is it because
that's going to take some work.
Is it because they're regional? It's so different. You know, why is it not modeled after like the Norfolk school budget or the Rentham or the Plainville? Why, I would think it would.
Well,
go ahead.
If I can, I mean, I think part of the history of why it is where we are is that, you know, they get instruction and guidance from more than three different, you know, but really 3 different finance committees, or advisory committee in our case. You know, so they get told, well, we need more detail. Well, we need less detail. Well, we need you to start, you know, freeze on February 14th and then go forward from there. So I think part of if we can do this process right, you know, part of the thing that will really help KP is if we can get the 3 towns to come up with a process that we can all agree on that KP should go through, so that we're not, you know, so we're not looking at one sheet for one town and a different sheet for a different town.
Apples to apples, so you can look at it.
And it doesn't become a competing kind of situation where, you know, 2 towns are trying to nail the third or something like that, which happens quite regularly as well.
I'm not sure you're going to fix that process.
I don't know that we'll fix the process, but at least we can all have an understanding of what the issues are, which we don't now. If you talk to all 3 towns, you get a different interpretation of what their needs are. And that's what we're trying to fix. Get everybody on the same page and have a coherent, that implies something I don't mean, but have a presentation that is compiled in a way that people can really understand where they are and what their needs are. And that's not the case. And I say, I'll never forget that comment where you said, so you're going to dismiss 2/3 of your staff if you don't get this money.
Well, which
is quite frankly what he said.
I felt nostalgic for Dr. Robot the other day when I was reading the Sun Chronicle and realized that we were laying off a quarter of our teachers at the elementary school this year.
Right.
Did you guys know that?
I read that. Well, we're actually not.
No, we're not. We're not.
Yeah.
And that's over X number of years, and that's including not folks who, are classroom teachers. So, but it was very much the same thing.
Yeah, I wish that people would give accurate information and not inaccurate information, because that is absolutely not true. But anyway, that said, so just from my perspective, that's important. I mean, they're a critical component. What's their total budget, Jack? 7, 8 million from us?
From us, yeah.
Yeah, about 7 or 8 million.
7 million.
Yeah, so that's almost
If you count the
22% of our entire working budget. We've got to do a better job of helping communicate that with them.
Their whole budget's 27.
Yeah, it's almost as much as ours.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Nicodemus, grab a microphone.
Have a seat.
At the Southwood meeting that we had with all the boards and committees and so forth, there were a lot of things stated by the proponent Hoboken. Member of our town government gave me the opportunity, which I haven't expressed yet or executed yet, to make contact with the true owners of Caritas, to find out what they and Hoboken actually told each other. I haven't done it because I wasn't sure whether you would mind having me or the Economic Development Committee contact the chairman of the Archdiocese for information. But we now know who to call if we wanted to.
Okay. I have to think about that one for a moment.
Was it one of us?
Coleman Bushnell gave me the information.
Okay. So the answer is no, it wasn't one of
No,
us.
it wasn't one of us.
Hmm.
Well, what's pertinent? Why would we be checking in on them?
Just that Hoboken made certain comments that the purchase agreement had certain conditions that the Archdiocese was levying against them that made it imperative that they get certain whatevers. And the question raised by the person that gave us the contact information is maybe you ought to talk to the chair of the Archdiocese and see what's really the case, which we haven't done. I just happen to have the information.
I want to think about it a little bit more, but my first reaction is that we should not.
Okay.
Just me. I mean, we're basically intruding in other people's business relationships that at this particular point in time we have no right to do, in my view. Hoboken has not asked anything of us at this point in time. Now, Jack and I were talking about this today, and you're going to call him tomorrow to kind of find out. We're a little unclear what the next steps are.
Okay.
And just my own personal view, I don't know that we should be intruding on that at this point. Now, once we get to a point where we become an interested party, right now all we've had is high-level, superficial information about what might happen. If it gets to the next step, where we're actually going to become a partner to some degree in this, then I think we're very entitled to get information and know things. But
Okay.
let's.
I just wanted you to know I have the information and it was given
Yeah,
to
no,
me.
I appreciate it, Bob.
We have
Yeah,
not
but
done anything.
that's just
with
my
it.
view. Hold on.
No, I
I
think-
may have two partners that disagree.
No, I don't disagree. I think Bob's point, like you said, checking up on him, because he did bring up the point, like, I need to close quickly and with no contingencies, meaning if he can't clean it or, so he did leave me the impression, too, he wanted us to move somewhat quickly in terms of bringing the community together, seeing if we could, quote, rezone it. And he kept using the fact that the Archdiocese is, I don't want to say fire sale, but selling it under a lot different conditions than they were the first time, right? With no fallback for him whatsoever, right? He
did say
owns the
that.
land, 90 days from, he kept saying, like, was it 90 days or, so times, I've been wondering about that too, because times ticked already, right? Since we had that big
Yeah,
meeting.
I'm expecting, but maybe without having ever been approached, that they want something to happen as soon as possible, which would be our fall town meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, that's Hoboken was. I got out of that meeting that they definitely want a zoning change on fall town meeting, and
But we don't know. We've had no request from them to do that at
Okay.
this point.
Well, again, we have the information. If we need to go deep throat, we can.
I would be interested in having Caritas tell us what the heck they're planning to do with their toxic, unoccupied, vacant hazard of a buildings. Maybe if things with Hoboken don't go as planned, they've got, a very attractive nuisance up there, and it does attract people. And
Well, we've had issues up there.
yeah, we have had issues up there. They have, I don't want to be too dramatic, but I don't want to say ticking time bomb, but they've got 2 polluted sites, 2 separate kinds of pollution up there. I would love to hear their
Well,
grand idea.
what do you think, Jack?
Who's the liaison of the Economic Development Committee?
Me.
I think maybe we want to talk about this just with the. I don't think doing our due diligence is a bad thing. I mean, whether or not we want to execute this right now is something we can probably talk about.
I think we have to do it. The question is the timing.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the
I'm not
information's
disagreeing that we should
available
do
when you
this.
need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but Bob, don't go away. It's a very good question. I mean, you could approach this on the basis of just, it certainly is an economic opportunity for us. And you, as chair of the Economic Development Committee, could have every right to call Caritas without involving Hoboken, and without even mentioning Hoboken, and saying, what are your intent, what are your plans, what's going on? I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that call. I'm a little less comfortable with starting to question what the business relationship is with Hoboken. Now, if it gets into that conversation where they tell you this and you now have a dialogue, that's a whole different conversation to me. I'm okay with that personally. Clearly, there's a time and a place to do that. And he did talk about zoning changes, but we haven't heard back. We haven't heard a thing. And Jack was going to call him tomorrow, and because I'm unclear what the next steps were.
I wasn't at the end of that meeting, so
Yeah,
I
but
assume we didn't drop off zoning changes.
we were all there. I think, Scott, you were there. We were all there. Did any of you come out of that meeting with a defined next step? I didn't.
I know they're looking for zoning changes in the fall. I had a conversation
They have
with
to
them
have
that
it to
effect.
build. They have to have zoning. That's an obvious. They have to have zoning changes to do what they're proposing. That's a given.
Right.
But we don't know when or at what time, or, I mean, I don't know. We haven't heard, it's been over a month, and we
there's-
haven't heard anything.
Schedule?
You know,
That's
probably
next-
half a
next
dozen
week,
to a
right?
dozen
That's for the
issues
fall committee.
identified that may not yet have hit their,
Didn't they mention wanting to do a public meeting?
They did.
they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how about this? Before you make that call, why don't you let us call Hoboken? I am slurring words tonight. Let us call them and see what they have to say. And if they indicate to us that they're getting on the faster track, then I think that call's very appropriate.
I just want you to know that there's a source. And
Yeah. Make sense?
We'll wait to see if.
Scott?
Yep.
Bob?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks, Bob.
Thanks, man.
Interesting timing. We were talking about that. Yeah. Oh, we chased our entire audience away. Managing financials, implementation of regional dispatch, designating funds for capitals, hunting issue.
Oh, yeah, those are all just
I mean, these are, even the continuing work on the solar project, these are all,
town administrator
Right.
stuff.
Well, I would agree with that, except for designate funds for capital needs is, unless
Actually,
as I like to tell the department heads, I can't print money,
I
but,
did have that at BOS.
okay,
yeah. That we need to come up with a strategy for,
That we do.
Whether it's
school's out.
time to go.
Time to
Wow,
go.
that was quick.
All right, so we've got number 1, number 2, number 4, number 6, number 8, number 9, and number 12 is our goals. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and the new number 12, which is Old Town Hall.
Yep.
We in agreement?
And what are we gonna do for Old Town Hall? We're gonna designate a committee like Rob suggested at some point? Just,
If I may, would you be willing to own that?
You sold them the Old Town Hall? Excellent.
We
You just
did.
bought the Old Town Hall. Congratulations. Now fix it, will you? Fix it.
Actually, you know what?
Parking?
Half the price.
Yeah, you get the 75
Well, I
bucks.
get the
the 75?
parking concession.
No, I'm sorry, you don't.
You can have a hot dog stand.
No, would you come back to the board with a?
Sure, I'll come
Okay,
back
with a
with
recommendation on that?
next meeting.
Okay. Scott, you're the KP rep, aren't you?
Yes.
So do you want to help work with us on the budget?
On that one was
Absolutely.
Old Town Hall. That-
Yes, be happy to do that.
item.
Okay. We're all kind of involved in number 2 and number 1, which are closely married. Rob, you got number 9, your favorite. And I'm working on number 6, so we've all got something to do there.
Okay.
Okay. Good, Marion?
I guess so. I missed part of it, so.
1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 12.
12 being Old Town Hall.
12 being Old Town Hall. Rob's going to come back to us with recommendations on that. Scott and I are going to work on KP. I've got number 6. We've all got number 8. Rob's got number 9. We've all got 1 and 2.
The Papagenos would be great.
Cappuccinos?
You do, huh?
One drive
Okay.
through.
I was thinking maybe we could get a remote registry office
Yeah. State with, yeah.
that only specializes in,
daughter's gonna
that only
kill me.
specializes in learner permits.
My daughter is going to kill me.
Library.
Hybrids, right? Only for hybrids.
What's that,
And if it's not a green car, you can't get your license.
what's
Okay.
that steakhouse in
Willie's?
Shrewsbury? Willie's
Do a
Steakhouse.
Willie's Steakhouse? Oh, I'd like that. Yeah. Although I would tell you the basement in the Old Town Hall is a whole lot different than the basement in Willie's Steakhouse.
Put it upstairs.
Yeah.
Be a fancy place.
Okay. Gumps.
Construction of affordable housing units. Jim?
I guess this is me again. It's been an entertaining week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, where to start? I think, as you all know, we've had some missteps regarding gumps.
Some bumps,
We've,
some
we've
bumps
had
and
some
gumps?
bumps in the road or bumps in the trees. Our contract for the homes is with Paddock and Corral with a gentleman named Walter
Mela.
Mela. The builder, who our contract is not with, is hired by Walter, has been Howard Bailey. And we have had some missteps in getting this done that I think have been well publicized and everybody knows about. We've had concerns about this, and we've had concerns about what might happen going forward. Walter's had similar concerns. So over the last 10 days, we've had a lot of meetings. Jack's been involved in some. The Municipal Housing Trust is involved in some. Figuring out whether or not it makes sense to take a step back and sort of restructure this to make sure that we get it done right and that we don't have any more mistakes. And because we want this done right. So what we have agreed to, pending this board also agreeing to it, is that Mr. Bailey will no longer be the builder of this project. A new builder will be hired to complete this project. And as a result of that, it has created some delays. So we have an agreement with Paddock and Corral that these 5 homes, because there's another one off-site on Mirror Lake, would be constructed by February of 2013, excuse me. And as you can tell, one hasn't started yet, other than the foundation has been poured on Mirror Lake. We've set up the lottery. It's in process. We've filed with the state. We've gotten local preference. I mean, all of the things have been done to go forward with this, but we're concerned that we're going a little too fast. So what we would like to do is we would like to go forward with the construction of 2 homes, the Gump Farm home, the old Gump's home, and the one directly behind that. We would like the lot that was inappropriately cleared to get in full compliance with the ruling of the ZBA, which is the replacement of trees, that the cut-down trees, lumber, mess be cleaned up to the satisfaction of the Municipal Housing Trust, any holes or issues associated with that, basically make it site acceptable, for lack of another term. And that we would like those 2 homes plus the Mirror Lake home completed within the terms of our current agreement, and that we would amend the agreement to have the remaining 2 homes, the one on Medway Branch, the 2 on Medway Branch, to be completed 12 months after the completion of the first 2 homes on Gumps. This spaces it out. It gives us more time to manage the process, to make sure it gets done right. And personally, I have a lot more comfort with it. I think the Municipal Housing Trust has a lot more comfort with it. They've agreed to this. Walter has agreed to this. And we have to either agree or not agree as a board because we are owners of the land, number one, and number two, we're party to the agreement with Paddock and Corral. So that's the Cliff Note version of where we are with it. He's agreed that he will start the three homes actually, within 30 days, and they will be completed within the constraints of the contract. And he's looking for a little more time, too. He's got to find another builder. I know he's already contacted several. We don't have approval of who that builder is, but we'll certainly have some input. And to his credit, he has shared the same concerns we've had, that these mistakes should not have happened. So that's, Jack, did I miss anything? You were in the meeting?
No, I don't think so. I think, obviously, there's a whole lot, more that is outside of this board. But, whether, he's got some issues down at the Fox Run or Paddocks and Corrals project that Mr. Mela is dealing with. And if any changes happen there, he'll have to work with the planning board on,
Right.
His.
This could have been very messy, I guess is another way to say it. Because you've got three parties, you've got Pulte, you've got Paddocks Corral, you've got the town, you've got the planning board, you've got the Municipal Housing Trust. This could have become a mess and just caused all kinds of problems for all parties if we all didn't sit down and try and find a solution that worked, because we can't afford any more mistakes. This just can't go on.
And we'll still have to, he'll still have to go to the planning board,
Modify his permit.
modify his permit, because the
don't-
building of the affordable units is part of the
Right,
bylaw.
but I don't, well, we'll check, but I don't think that's the case. Because the contract, the time frame of the contract is exclusively with the Board of Selectmen and the Municipal Housing Trust. As long as he complies with the bylaw, which has those phased-in timeframe considerations,
Okay.
he's okay with the planning board. The planning board, I reread that yesterday. The planning board special permit did not have the same language as our contract with Paddock and Corral. He just has to comply.
All right, so I'm
But we
sure-
can check that.
whatever, I'm sure they'll just need a copy of the amended contract.
And I'm not suggesting
They
we
can
don't
raise issues
inform
if they
them, that's
wanna
not my
raise it.
point,
Yeah, no, I know.
but I don't think that they need to amend their ruling. But we can check it. We want everything to be right, so if they need to, they need to. We'll get it done. Well, we'll attempt to get it done. We don't get the vote.
Well, the only reason, the reason I bring it up is it's actually in our favor, I think, we want the planning board on board, because the planning board holds the lot releases, which
Right.
is really our power at the end of the day, so.
Right.
So the permit doesn't allow the release of X number of lots per affordable built?
Yeah, he gets 10 lots released for every affordable he builds.
Okay.
So by building the two, under our current bylaw, he would be this time frame is actually quicker than what our bylaw requires in terms of the construction of the affordable homes. And when I read through the special permit, there was nothing in there that differed from that.
So I guess what I'm asking is, he can't build all of his lots
Until
and
this
then
is all
just
done.
say, on the two, forget it.
He cannot. Correct.
Yeah, but I think it's like before he gets to 75%.
Right.
He's got to finish.
There's
He's got to be 100% on the affordable.
let's put it this way, we have all the leverage.
Okay.
Yeah. The stick is on our side of the court. But,
I have no objection to spacing out
Yeah.
over 2 years.
I don't either. I'm actually quite favorably inclined to do this. We need to slow this down.
I know in other instances, there's been difficulty in actually selling the affordable units.
There has. And we've priced these below some of those considerations because we've done the financials we want people going into these homes and staying. We don't want them in a position where they can't stay or maintain them. And we need to learn. This is all new to the trust, and the trust needs to have some experience in this. And I think experience with 2 is a little bit better learning curve than experience with 4. So I think it's a good thing. It's unfortunate that we've gotten here the way we've gotten here, And it's taken an awful lot of time in the last week to work through this. This has been quite a mess. But I think we've come to the right place.
So if the selectmen, the board of selectmen are a party to this contract, are you going to bring the contract back when it's renegotiated?
Correct. Well,
To us for a vote.
when I'm asking for it this evening, if you would concur, and again, I guess unfortunately you have to recuse yourself. So it's you and me again, pal. This is a letter of understanding. It is not. It is just that. It's a letter of understanding. We would ask town council, who wrote the original contract, to write out the addendum to formalize the agreement. But we need to get a letter of understanding in order for this to go forward. This letter outlines that, and the Municipal Housing Trust has voted and authorized Scott to sign that, and if you concur, you would authorize me to sign that, and then we would ask Walter to confirm or acknowledge the letter.
Okay.
And all this letter says is, maybe I should read it?
But don't listen, Scott.
Per our conversation, this letter will serve to define the amendment to our contract for the construction of 4 affordable homes on the property known as Gumps Farm and a single home located on Mirror Lake. We have agreed the 2 homes to be located on Gumps with access from Rockwood Road and Boardman Street will begin construction within 30 days from the date of this letter and completed within the terms of the original contract. In addition, a lot located at the corner of Medway Branch and Boardman Street will be brought into compliance with the recent ZBA ruling, cleaned up and debris and trees removed to the satisfaction of the trust. The property located on Mirror Lake will also be completed within the terms of the original contract. The remaining 2 homes located on Gumps will be completed by February 2014. Our town council will complete a formal addendum to our contract for signature. By vote of the Municipal Housing Trust and Board of Selectmen, the chairs of the respective committees are hereby authorized to sign on behalf of their respective boards. So that is what we're hoping that we can all get agreement on, and then we'll visit with the planning board to make sure that they're current on what's going on. So, do I have a motion?
I move to send the letter read by
Here,
Chairman Leah.
close enough.
You just read it, right?
I did. I
I
did.
need to read it again.
Don't need to read it again. I will second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just, I thought for people who may be watching, although I doubt there's many, the reason we keep asking Scott to recuse himself is because any board member has to recuse himself when there's even the possibility of personal gain involved in a decision that's before the board that he or she sits on. So this property abuts his property, so it does have some, potentially could have some effect. So thank you, Scott, for your patience.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hathaway, for your explanation. Thank you, Rob. Okay.
We wanted to review, how about if we do just a quick review of that meeting we had with the other towns?
Yeah.
So Jim and I met with Mr. Sneed, the chairman of the Finance Advisory Committee. We met with all of our counterparts from Rentham and Plainville. Plainville was rather thinly attended, but town administrator was there. We just talked about regionalization in general, and it's a conversation we've had several times over the years, trying to, and with varying degrees of success. Now, I think with our success nearly with the this dispatch, I think, my kind of goal with that project was, to build the dispatch, but also to show it as a success that we could do other regional projects as well. And I think hopefully people are seeing that, learning from the department heads in their respective towns, that it is possible. So anyway, so I guess at the summit, the 2-hour meeting that we had up quickly, we talked about a whole bunch of different things that could be regionalized, and I think one of the I think Mr. McGovern from Rentham said it well, is that we should really focus on tasks or departments, staffing people that serve us internally, not the police department per se, or not something that is going to have a a Rentham logo on it running through Norfolk, if you will.
Non-controversial.
Non-controversial, but look at, so we're going to look at human resources was one of them, and we talked about how, Scott is here part-time. So the other towns are going to, look at that as if that may be something they can add on a part-time basis, and, either we keep him as an employee and then we contract out with the other towns. Same with IT. Planning was one that Rentham has a part-time planner, and Plainville was very interested in getting the planner on board. So we're going to try and do some of these half-time positions, and then we also talked about further down the road, could we do things such as payroll and tax collection and anything. Virtually, you could do town hall regionalized, but that would that's going to be a long time down the road. But some of these smaller steps, just trying to take some baby steps. So I think HR and planning were the first two that we're really going to try and do right off the bat.
I think we were all looking for low-hanging fruit. It's just something that we could get done to begin the process and create some cooperation between the three towns. We did talk about the schools, and I think we're all kind of beating our heads against the wall on how to do that, because obviously we can't. We need the committees and the various superintendents to be supportive of this. And quite frankly, it appears like Rentham is the one that and even stated by the Rentham representatives that were here, for whatever reason, unbeknownst to even their selectman representative, they're just not willing to even open the door on this. Fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
And frustrating to all of us present that we, because we said, why don't we invite them into the next meeting and see if we can't begin some dialogue on this. And I mean, we've got a superintendent of Rentham that lives in Norfolk, and now we've got a superintendent of Norfolk that lives in Rentham. We ought to be able to have at least some conversation, and we all, special needs, that's been a topic long discussed about the opportunity to regionalize just pieces of it. And regionalize may not even be the right word. Call it shared services, where, so we take that stigma off the table and just call it shared services. But for some reason, according to them, Rentham just doesn't want to move.
Rentham's having a hard time getting people on the KP board, from what I understand. So,
but we're not going to give up.
I'd like to put something back on the table.
Sure.
Being the new public safety liaison, I've had a lot of opportunity to interface with Cole, and one of Cole's running issues is call firefighters, the inability to get call. And we've talked about it, and from the outsider standpoint, it makes no sense. You've got Norfolk, which has a stable of 4 or 5 call people that they can regularly depend on. You've got Rentham, who has, while they may have a 12-person force or whatever it is, you've only got 4 on at a time, so you have people that are off-duty in Rentham that perhaps you could call to Norfolk, except you run into issues of insurance, liability, pay scales.
The state's in the way.
So with the new dispatch, it really seems like you open up the opportunity to solve the call problem through intermunicipal agreements. And I don't think the chiefs would be that would be horribly opposed to it. I know our chief would be interested in thinking about it.
Well, as I understand the issue, and tell me if I'm wrong, if an off-duty Rentham firefighter is a call fighter for Norfolk and comes to Norfolk as a result of a specific issue and is hurt, he is not covered for Rentham. He's out of luck. He does not have the benefits that would be available to him had he been hurt as in a Rentham situation. And that is a state rule, and that it would require legislative action to change that.
We could do a home rule. The 3
well,
towns,
I know
like
we
did
can.
with
We can take. We can attempt to fix it.
Yeah.
But did I miss this? Isn't that kind of the issue?
well, yeah. Well, the underlying issue that you're right, but just the underlying issue is, we have a call firefighter who works in, just think about Norfolk for a second. Call firefighter works in Norfolk. He or she gets injured on the job because of Chapter 111F. We then have to pay that person a full-time salary until they're
Off disability.
until they're off to the disability.
Right.
So you add another town into that. I've never looked at that. So maybe you're a step ahead of me there. If a Rentham full-time firefighter is on a Norfolk call staff, I'm sure there's
My understanding is if he were injured on the Norfolk call staff, he would not be covered by Rentham.
Correct, he'd probably be on our.
Now, does he fall on our payroll
Well,
if that
he's injured
occurs?
working for.
Another question?
I thought this was going to be chief
I
personnel
thought it
running
was
up.
gonna be,
Well, it'll take him a little longer to get here.
Is there anything coming up regarding the bridge relative to a meeting that I need to be aware of?
Well, there's the Thursday.
No, that's Downtown Development Committee.
Well,
Different than bridge application.
there's no specific bridge meeting.
Okay.
No. So that's as clear as mud. So you're right. I mean, there's state law issues that we'd have to overcome, and obviously you can always resolve them with home rule petition. You know, you've also got union
Yeah.
problems too, because we have different unions in Norfolk and Rentham.
But to me, those are manageable. We could work through those considerations at the union level.
I'm sure if the guys were covered, they would enjoy.
Yeah.
They would look.
But I
take
don't,
the opportunity.
but
to
I don't
make a
think
little
we
extra
can,
money.
I think is the issue, because he would be covered for a different level of compensation as a call fighter under Norfolk than he would be as a full-time firefighter under Rentham. That, to me, that's the issue, as I understand it, is that he will not get the full salary benefits because it did not occur under his contract with Rentham. He would get a different level of compensation, which is on a call firefighter night and day.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And that, what I understood, because I asked the same question, years ago. Why can't we share resources here? It doesn't make sense, and that seems to be the issue. But that doesn't mean we can't make an effort to fix it.
I mean, and generally today, again, Cole's going to walk in the door here.
And correct us all, say none of us have the right
He'll lecture
information.
us.
Yeah.
Well, but there are union issues here because, well, if you're talking about off-duty Rentham guys, they're more likely to, in theory, and again, it's top of my head, they'd rather get called back to their
Sure.
department
Absolutely.
and then come work for us on overtime through mutual aid.
Absolutely.
And that's the way the process works today.
Won't the dispatch help that then? Because you'll be more likely to get a quicker mutual aid response. So we'll have virtual call in that we'll have the Rentham 4, or how many they have live, and Rentham will be calling back their own.
I don't think so. I mean, my personal goal is to get dispatch done and then start seriously talking about regionalizing
The entire process.
fire and police. And two separate issues, two separate projects.
Yeah.
But, you regionalize the fire department, then you're pulling back people who are on call, or who are on duty from the other towns and balancing it that way.
Well, because Franklin's got, I think, 12 on all
12
time.
on duty.
All time.
Yeah, I mean, that.
But they also have about 10 times the number of calls that we
They
have.
have a lot of calls.
Yeah. If there's any good news in it, I think the regionalization has at least brought this all to the surface. And so the issues now are on the table and people are willing to talk about them.
The Plainville-North Attleboro thing is a problem.
Yes.
Or a challenge, in that Plainville's already talking to North Attleboro.
Right.
about
And
fire.
that came up in our meeting.
Yeah.
That came up in our meeting. And there are some clear geographical considerations as to why they would do that. I mean, they're not exactly a neighbor of Norfolk, so, it makes sense for them to go there.
Growing up in Plainville, I'd never heard of Norfolk.
I had a great one-liner, but I'm going to refrain. Did we miss anything on that meeting?
I think that's
Except the last, probably 45 minutes was all about KP.
it was.
Question. Is Rentham's water department an enterprise fund, like ours?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head, no. I believe it is, but I'm not positive. They talked about how smart we were about our trucks, and the Rentham Selectmen said, you guys have great water trucks in Norfolk, and they were being somewhat facetious, but they were jealous of our smart budgeting.
Well, our water department is very jealous of Rentham's trucks.
I know that. So,
All right, now that we've got all the emotional jealousy considerations out of the way, upcoming appointments.
we've got a list that I think was recirculated tonight.
We got two different lists.
I gave you one tonight. Look at the back page, one to 611, one to,
Yeah, why did certain committees disappear?
Because we're tired of them.
Yeah, the Affordable Housing Trust Appears to have disappeared.
No, it's municipal, it's no longer.
It's on page 3.
Arts
Okay.
Council is now cultural.
See, Rob, there you go, throwing aspirations without asking questions.
Well, you know, I get this at the last minute, so I...
Actually, that information's wrong. John Weddleton's no longer on the board.
Yeah. He resigned.
He resigned.
Municipal Housing Trust.
Oh, exactly, I still have him on there?
And then in addition, in your packet,
And there's
which
one,
you've had
there's,
for
there's
days,
a,
I'm sure.
there's an, who's our, help me with our veteran agent again?
We got them
Bill?
electronic.
Bill,
Conklin.
Bill Conklin.
he's on the committee. Bill Conklin's on the committee. He was appointed
By who?
by us.
We did?
We did.
Is that in the minutes?
Can't wait to go on vacation.
All right, so we got that one right.
Well, this will be updated for next weekend, the next meeting. Anyway.
Okay. All right, so we need to make all these appointments, and you have,
Not tonight, you don't.
no, on the 26th, but, and you have a lot of candidates?
Well, if you look at
Well,
the
look at
next two
list I
lists,
gave you.
the white ones, there's one that says citizens interested in volunteering on top. And it's got some letters of interest attached to it, with all the names on the front cover sheet. Then the second list is an email from town clerk to Marion that shows, as part of the census, they asked for people that are interested in volunteering. So there's a list of potential candidates there as well.
Okay. Now, we've done this several ways in the past. We've asked prospective candidates to come in and visit with us, and in other instances, we've just made the appointments. What is the pleasure of the board?
I've
Scott?
had one
Oh.
committee ask if they could talk to these people first to see their feel and see if they wanted them on the board.
So you're suggesting that the chairs contact these people?
Some, we've done it that way too in the past.
Well, I know we do that with ZBA.
Well, we do it with most of them.
Okay.
That makes the most sense to me.
In fact, the board's got this list from from Sean. I didn't even know it was out there. And Marie told me that she had a whole list of people for Concom. And that's how I found out about this. So most of the boards have already seen this and probably contacted people.
So then, wouldn't it make sense then to send a note out quickly to the chairs of the boards and ask for their recommendations?
My only thought about that is not that that's a bad thing, but what about, interviewing, how do I say this delicately? I'm not trying to cause a controversy here, but boards that you may want to have people on that go in a different direction or a direction. That's all I'm. And
No,
I'm
I know
not,
exactly.
I'm not picking on.
I know
anybody.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aren't we just asking the chair, we're asking the chairs to give their recommendation,
Yeah.
doesn't mean we could still then have
Interview
discussion with those folks,
yeah.
yeah, their recommendations. I know what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would
No,
think that would be,
and that'd be a
at
good
least
way of doing
defer
it.
that way, start.
Yep.
I mean, you hate to stick people with someone you don't want to work with. That life is life. Sometimes you have a diverse board, and sometimes you don't love working with everybody on your board. But they bring good things to the table, so you deal with it and you move forward.
We had a case, was it last year, of a person who expressed interest in the Concom, then actually went to a meeting and said, oh my God, I don't want to do that.
We did.
So, I would love to have these people actually go to the board meetings
Right.
that they're interested in. If there's time, it's 2 weeks before appointments. But we could,
We don't have to
we
do
could hold
them.
off.
We should do the bulk of them next week, but if we have people to add.
Yeah, no, we don't have, we don't have
They
to.
don't have to be done next week. These vacancies have been there for a while, so.
When you look at, and different boards have different needs. If you look at conservation, we need someone on that board that has some experience and knowledge, and that's not a learner spot. And very difficult. Whereas other boards, I think you can grow into it. All right, well, we need to give some direction on this.
May I make a suggestion?
Please.
That Marion forward to the respective boards the citizens' interest in volunteering list that you've compiled, and pass on our suggestion that they contact these people and have discussion with them and invite them to a board meeting,
Okay,
and then provide us with their feedback,
okay.
which could be confidential, I suppose.
It also means that we won't be making these appointments next on the 26th.
But we can do the other ones, the ones that,
I think we can do.
Well, we can do the renewals.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, do-
yeah, we can do the renewals.
Because we do have, we have ZBA openings, we do have at least one vacancy in Concom.
Yep.
TPA.
So why don't we focus on the 26th for the reappointments for those that are sort of re-upping, so to speak, and then go with that other recommendation for
What
the
is
remaining.
TPA on the,
I don't know, I was wondering, is that like a school thing?
well, there's a teacher-parent association,
That's what I'm wondering
and
if
that's what we
that's
call it here. We don't call it a PTA, we call it a TPA.
TPA.
Well, we appoint people to the elementary school trust,
Yeah, we don't do TPA.
but we do not do TPA.
But
I think
Sean was
he-
probably collecting that.
He probably just gave me what he had
Oh.
and
Yeah.
sent me an email.
That makes sense.
Yeah, the NEAT has changed its
Is
name.
everyone whose term up want to re-up?
I don't know. Every year I ask them, but I get back about 5 responses out of 30, so. I told them if they didn't get back to me, they were automatically being renewed. So I
No
thought
action
that
letter,
might
did
get
no
them.
action letter, that's very good in sales.
And
That's
I
they
don't
perfect.
know
did
whether that's
still
good or
have
bad.
Planning board's meeting next week, they're gonna
Talk about there.
do theirs and then, because you
Are they
guys
gonna
said you
vote?
want him to
Are they
do it
gonna vote?
first.
Okay.
Do they have multiple candidates?
No, they have one. I put it out there and nobody's responded.
The incumbent does not desire to do it again?
Nope.
Really? I thought he did. Changed his mind? Okay. I had not heard that.
Doesn't surprise me, though.
Okay. Well, we'll leave that to them. They have 4 votes, we have 3, so we won't worry about it. Actually, they have 5. Okay. Any questions or anything on this?
I'll contact the committees that I'm a liaison with just to kind of rattle their cage about things, too, in addition to whatever you're doing there.
All right, I'll do the same. Scott, how about you do the
Sure,
same?
do the same, yep.
All right.
Good to check in with them anyway.
We've still got a lot of vacancies for,
I know.
and, you know, if people are interested in capital outlay committee would be a great one to get involved in.
That's fairly an important committee, too.
It is.
Yeah, I'm the liaison to that. I will contact all 3 of these folks and,
Well, one of them is 213, so he's not up.
right, but I want to be sure, just because he's not up doesn't mean he'll show up, you know, because
he's-
I only say that, not reflecting on him in any way. They haven't had anything to do for 2 years, so,
Ray Ewer said he's interested. So you
Who?
only have Ray Ewer?
You were-
oh, okay. He is interested?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We've got openings on the,
And I suspect the second name would be as well, be my best guess.
I haven't heard from
I
him.
don't know,
You don't think so?
haven't seen him for
Oh.
2 years, so.
I'll call. I'll call him.
Oh, Economic Development Committee was the other one that I was thinking about. We have at least one opening.
Well, Rob, you got ZBA, right? Let's just go quickly through. So you're going to do that. Boards of registrars, have we got that cleaned up
You
now?
don't have
They're
any,
not-
you don't have any
they're not
appointments to
They're
do.
not up.
I know, but is it cleaned up?
Well, it will
Yes.
be on our next
Okay.
reappointment, yeah. We'll have to appoint 1 for 2, 1 for 3.
Okay. Capital outlay is me. Who's got
Oh, I think it's
CP?
supposed to be 4.
Oh, I have CPC. That's me.
It always had.
Who has
4.
conservation?
I do.
Okay, that's you.
I have a couple of candidates.
Corrections advisory.
I think I can handle that one.
Thank you, Jack. Council on Aging.
I think that one should be all set. We just need, right? I mean, you've
We've
talked to,
got somebody that's gonna meet with Norma and go to the meeting next week,
Okay, so we're good there.
but she's not sure.
Cultural Council, I think we're good there. Design Review, we're set. Economic Development, they're all up.
That's a one-year term.
Right. Well, I know that at least 4 of these are going to continue. Who, oh, that's me. I'll check with Bob on that. Energy, that's you, Rob?
This will probably come in the room again.
Historical?
That's me.
Insurance, we're set.
Historical's all set.
All
Yeah.
set?
We got if you looked at Sean's list, there's a lot of interest. I wonder, could we have associates? That's what I was going to talk to Barbara
They
and see if
appoint
she's
their
interested.
associates.
They appoint
So
their
maybe
own?
they should see the list.
Just like,
But these 3
just
all
like
said they want to
conservation.
stay on.
but can you, I don't want to get nitpicky on this, but can you, someone needs to make it clear the role of an associate that is appointed by the board versus the role of an associate appointed by the Board of Selectmen, such as in ZBA. They play very different
Oh,
roles.
right.
They're like volunteer help.
Right, and we need to be
They've
sure that
already got
they just need to
associates.
understand
They
it,
already
that's
have
all. Not a big
associates.
deal on the Historical Commission.
They
you know.
have associates, so they know.
You doing the MAPC again, Jack?
Absolutely.
How was the meeting?
Love him.
Okay.
MHT. We got a clean house on that committee. There's
What, MAPC?
Yes, he's talking municipal
MHT.
housing.
Oh, MHT.
Throwing an
There's
arrow your
probably,
way.
there's probably a few people there that would like you to do it. It's, you have,
All 3 of the 2012.
you have no idea. That committee, Municipal Housing Trust, we had so little to do for 3 years. And now we're meeting
building
weekly.
5 houses.
We are meeting weekly, and it is a full-time job. It's
Nest.
NCAB, Norfolk County Advisory Board, is David going to continue that?
Yes.
Okay.
He's done a good job.
Elementary school, we'll just ask them what they want us to do. Planning Board, that's not what's going to happen?
No, this one is what's going to happen.
No, he's
Oh,
the
okay.
one that wants
He's the
to do
former
it.
planning board member.
No, I know who it is. I thought you said,
Well,
You were talking
no.
about the former assistant.
The associate member
Associate.
that was in there doesn't want it.
oh,
Last year's
That's not
associate.
who
Sorry.
was in there.
Planning board member.
Sorry,
So don't yell
okay.
at me.
I'm not yelling at you. I would never yell at you,
Gentlemen.
Jack.
Just don't want you to yell at people before you ask
Safety
questions.
building committees are done.
Public Safety Building Committee, no change there. We don't have any vote on that
Appointed for
anyway.
life.
Yeah, appointed for life. Some cases, it may be for life. SWAP,
They
I
want
know
it.
they're good.
They want it.
Tax title custodians, the same. Needs to be appointed to reflect 2000, oh, yeah. Oh, do we have to, even though we signed a contract, we have to formally appoint?
We
I'm
do.
appointed through 2014, so you're not getting out of this that easy.
All right, duly noted.
We
You just
talked-
threw that in there, huh?
We talked about just, we never changed the appointment so that it's in sync.
In
with
sync?
the
What a
contract.
novel thought. Okay,
Nice try.
yeah, nice try. We do have to formally appoint town council again.
I would recommend continuing with our.
I would as well.
How's,
You
how
don't
are our
have-
financials there?
We need to do, we're probably about $10,000 short, be my guess, not having seen the June bill, which we're still in June, obviously, but,
But it's been a busy year. We've had a
Are you-
lot going on.
Comfortable with their cost? Their overall cost?
yeah, we've used, I mean,
Okay.
holy cow. we've
You gotten
used
the
them a
value
lot.
out of it?
Yeah.
I've been exceptionally pleased with my dealings with them, which fortunately have been somewhat limited, but
Yep.
they've been very, very responsive, and I found them pretty much on the money.
And it is what they are what they advertised. I mean, if Joyce doesn't claim to be the expert in everything, but she gets us the expert in whatever topic of the day is. So it's been very good.
I'll tell you one that I'd like to help us find someone is that zoning bylaw study committee. That's a spot I.
Well, it could be hot with Hoboken.
It will be hot. It could be, it will be. But we need someone there that's got some expertise. So, okay. Mr. Hathaway?
I was going to just say, Veterans Graves Officer down at the bottom there. John continues to do that and wants to continue to do that. I think if somebody's interested in helping him, he'd welcome some help, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd love to train somebody. John has done a fantastic job for many, many years.
Yes. Okay.
Ba, 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 ba.
Oh, wait, you have some updates.
I did have one, in keeping with our goals, managing our financials prudently. Julie and I went over the, this is the local receipts, so not the taxes, other than motor vehicle taxes, but,
Is that my phone?
It wasn't mine.
Mine.
No, that was a rhetorical question.
so you can see there's some good news and some bad news. Obviously, the great news down at the bottom of the line is we're about $92,000 in the surplus for our local receipts that we placed on the 2000 that we estimated for the tax rate recap. There are some shortages. The ambulance receipts are still, we've got another month to go, but ambulance receipts are lower than anticipated. We know that through some of the insurance process where insurance claims money is being sent directly to the patients rather than to the provider, in this case the town, we're chasing a lot of receipts, much more than we have in the past. So the good news is there's some legislation to change that and put back the process of sending money to the provider of the service rather than the patient. Motor vehicle excise taxes are about $30,000 short. Fines and penalties and interest are well above anticipation. Other department revenue, really all the department revenue that you go around to the different town departments, about $7,000 or 7 or 8% above what we anticipated. Our investment income is up, although some of that will likely be, Julie does a end of the year allocation to the water department and to the recreation department, and I'm not sure if she's done that at this point. So that some of that
Yeah,
will.
I was going to ask you on that. That number seems awfully high.
Yeah, that is. I'm sure that is high. So she has to, as I said, post that over to the other two enterprise type funds.
That's probably going to be at least half come out of
Yeah.
it, I would guess.
Obviously, the great news is the licenses and permits, and solar. Thanks
It's like
again.
180,000 of that,
Yeah.
wasn't
So,
it? So this is very, very bad news.
well, that's why I said it's good news and bad news, and there is a lot of shortages here. There's still another month. This is only through May, so there's another month of collections here. So it's not.
Okay.
The bad isn't as bad as it looks, but the.
So, okay. So the middle figure is the FY12 12-month figure.
The middle figure is the estimate that we used for FY12.
And
correct.
it's a 12-month figure. It's not
Yep.
11. It's not. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So, again, at the end of the day, we're at 2.7 million. We estimated 2.6, so we're about $90,000 ahead of that. But we were really saved by the building permit fees, and a good chunk of that being the solar.
And we don't have the revenue from the tax sale there yet.
We do not. That'll actually close tomorrow, so we'll have $180,000 come in tomorrow.
So that's FY12 money.
That is FY12 money.
Correct.
So that'll go into free cash, and then we
Be
can
certified in
appropriate it.
October.
We would have it available to put into our saving account in the fall.
That will be a very interesting discussion.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good news is, I think Senator Ross told us that $220,000 is the Senate number for prison mitigation. So it's
For
up to,
us.
whether or not, yes, for us. That's up from the 80,000 that we received this year. So hopefully that number will hold.
I'll tell you, if that number holds, we can make a dent in this capital in the fall meeting. That would be great.
Yep. And department heads and I are meeting next week to talk about capital, start putting together that list. We obviously have a lot of lists that I think you've seen parts of already, but we'll have vehicle needs is obviously always one of the biggest ones, but computer needs, both in the town hall and at the school.
When should we pull the capital out? We did set the date for the fall town meeting, did we?
November 29th?
November 29th. So when will we open the warrant?
Next
Next meeting.
meeting.
Next meeting, June 26th. And when will it close?
September something, I don't know.
Mid-September, roughly? So the capital outlay committee we need to get that going. They probably don't have to meet till September, but your people, if we talk to the schools too, I mean, everybody should be working on their capital needs over the summer, and we'll get them they should be sitting down by September to begin to hear these issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll target that, okay.
Did you figure
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So other than miscellaneous recurring, the softest one here is trash. The transfer station is down like a sixth or seventh. Permits are being sold now.
Yeah.
So-
So there's still a lot of revenue coming in right now.
I think we'll be near.
Yeah, I think this is a typical May look. I mean, and I wish, and Butch and I talked about it a couple of times, and I think we talked about it with the board. I'm not sure, but we talked about changing the sale of the permits.
decals, yeah.
And then would you want to take a bad year and delay them selling them until like December, trying to get them on a different cycle than the.
It's a weird cycle they're on.
It's a
It
very
is a
weird
weird
cycle.
cycle. Yeah, it should be on a calendar year.
Yeah. Well, we can't do that right
But,
now.
Well, it's-
Jack, none of these numbers really alarm me. When you motor vehicle, you probably got some element of delinquency there.
There'll be a little bit more coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually some of that. I do think your investment income's probably twice as what it's actually going to be.
An ambulance number is troubling.
Yeah, but we knew that. We knew that
Right.
was coming. We knew that number was
And
coming.
that's a delinquency problem, right? That's not.
The billing problem, I mean,
Well,
they
yeah.
pay the people now as opposed to us.
But do we have a number of how much they've actually billed out versus collected? You know what I mean? Like this is.
We do.
what
I
I'm
don't
sure-
have that in front of me, but we do know that we always, we have a collection company, and they give us the billed, the collected, and the
And I still don't know how bad
uncollectible.
it is. Like, have we built out 500 just to get 226? You know what I
I think
mean?
the
Do we have to
trash
build
number-
500 to get
Well,
200?
knowing
Do we
that it's
build
11
300
month
to get
number, I feel
200?
uncomfortable.
I mean, and
You didn't-
Cole has
I
told
was
us
thinking
too
this
that,
was-
especially in the beginning, last year,
A 12-month estimate.
fall
I
and
was
stuff,
like,
there
oh
were-
my God.
business.
Yeah.
His word was business was low.
So it's apples to
people
oranges here.
people would be calling the ambulance,
It's
getting
might be
assessed
good
by
news.
Brought in, right?
brought in.
Right.
So there's no revenue generated from that. I think hopefully, I would hope as the economy continues,
Right.
hopefully continues to move upward, we get less of that. People really looking for desperate ways to save money. I mean, that's just that's a harsh one to me.
Mr. Chair.
sure.
So there was some softness last month or last couple of months you were concerned about? Are we?
Julie was a lot more concerned than I was, but that's what we pay her for, is to be concerned and spread the word.
Are we
that,
on track?
Yeah, I think we're much better off than we were.
Will we end FY12 with a surplus?
Well, we're already in a surplus.
already have
Well,
surplus.
you're in a surplus for this kind of. How about tax revenue versus
And
expenses?
tax revenue is more of a there's the way that you do the accounting.
It's more finite.
The UMAS, Unified Massachusetts Accounting System. We don't have to worry about non-collections as much. We use the receivables as part of our revenue, so because we know we're going to get it eventually, 99.99% of the time.
So you accrue it.
Correct.
Yes, you do. Because the state allows you to. This is actually, to me,
Requires
Jack,
you to. So.
better way to say it.
That way.
This, to me, is actually pretty good news. Because I
Don't
think
go
you're
spend
gonna-
it.
Huh?
Now don't go spend it.
You know
Told you
me.
not to give us any numbers.
You know better. You know me better than that, Jack. But for folks at home, this is a recap. When we do the budget, we estimate various sources of revenue. The tax revenue, which is the largest component, the state revenue tends to be, at least at some point, a reasonably fixed number.
Yeah.
The variables are the ones that are always a little bit more of a wild card. And what this report says is that we are, through 11 months, we are $93,000 in excess of what we estimated, which means that we're probably going to be a couple of $100,000 in excess of what our estimates were. So overall, while some are a little short, some are higher, it's a good job. Message there is that you did a good job, Jack, when you built the budget, you did a good job with your estimates.
Question, sir?
Sir.
So this is the revenue side. I think Rob asked, maybe I didn't understand. Probably. How about on the expense side? Then we don't see. I mean, how are our expenses running against budget?
We can give you that,
Those are
too. I mean,
different. We couldn't be a negative, which I assume we're not.
Right. The good news on the expense side is we can't go into a negative,
Right.
so that the department heads know that they, if they are going to go into the negative, they need to go to the advisory board and ask for a transfer. And there's $80,000 in that fund that they can do that. They can only do that after they come to us.
Right.
The good news is we can't deficit spend any
Right.
account.
Except for the
Other than the
Other than
snow and ice, which we
Right.
already
Right.
took care of.
Right.
So that's
So what we worry about expenses, but
they're at the budget.
if we reach a point where we have a problem, we just don't spend, we stop.
Yeah. So in the
It's
end
simple.
of July, we'll present to you two different things. One is encumbrances, so that's money that the departments are going to they've encumbered in their budget, so they've signed a contract or otherwise ordered a product that hasn't been received yet, so that money's still sitting in their expense account. Then we'll also tell you how much money each of the departments is going to turn back into the budget. So that'll be the underutilized money. Rob, I think might have a
Bottom line is,
question.
when we certify our free cash, we're going to be in the $400,000 neighborhood. It should be one of our best years in a while.
Low expectations, low expectations. So what kind of control do you have over department encumbrances? I mean, do you have final say on all of them? Other than, I would assume, the clerk's office and the other elected.
Not really. Other than, I mean, I do as they report to me, but from a legal standpoint, they're given authority by a town meeting to spend their
A number,
appropriation.
yeah.
So, so yes, I have authority over them, so I can tell them not to spend. And we've put spending freezes on before. We haven't this year, but a couple of years when this wasn't looking as good, we did put some spending freezes on.
I think you were on the board, Rob. You remember, it was about 4 years ago when this mess first really started to hit us. We put a freeze.
Yeah.
We literally put a spending freeze.
Another question. So, is the revenue budget a voted budget? So we talk about the budget, you can't expend more than what we voted at town meeting. Is the revenue budget a voted budget?
By line item?
Yeah, because we're not going to hit some of these numbers.
No,
You vote that
Where
number.
it's a bottom line revenue
we
budget.
vote to raise and appropriate 29 million or whatever that number is.
That's not a fourth-year selectman question, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What's that? That's
I'm
my.
refraining. Okay, that's it?
That's all I got.
All right. Rob, do you have any additional items?
I kind of gave everything up early on with my registry story.
Can't top that.
That is a tough one to top. Scott,
Nope.
you have any business?
No new business?
Marion?
No, I'm all set.
Good? I am good as well. Minutes?
Oh, can I just throw out a couple community things?
Absolutely.
Congratulations and thank you to the Norfolk Lions for throwing or
Wonderful
hosting a wonderful community day and a fantastic pie eating contest.
I knew that was coming.
All right, let's get it straight. All right.
Don't wimp out next. Oh,
The
sorry.
defending champ was not present because he had a commitment that made sure that he remained in his marriage.
You're indeed.
You're antiquing.
I wouldn't quite word it that way. But let's just put it this way. I was compelled to be out of the community on that day, much to my regret. So it's a tainted victory.
And I said that on TV. Don't believe me. I know.
Well, it's tainted in that the rules changed midway through the contest, Mr. Lutz.
Oh, you changed the rules on you?
There's a little controversy about whether or not you had to eat the crust or not.
No. There was tons of pudding still in your pie. And half of it was on his face. Let's be honest about this. The guy wore basically a face cloth on that, and that's where all the pudding was. It wasn't in his throat.
You can grow a beard next
And
year.
where was yours?
Maybe.
I was pacing myself because I could see he was going to blow out a gut or something. And
So did you finish on Sunday or Monday?
no, I was second.
Was he second?
Disputed second.
I don't know.
Yes, I
I
was.
was.
I beat Christina.
Yeah, my daughter.
well-
my daughter was in it too.
I heard that. Well, there would be a definite rematch next year. You are formally challenged.
And Mr. Bugby wants to get the dunk tanks out there because he thinks
Oh, we did that.
he
We
thinks
did
you are
that.
very capable of raising a lot of money.
Yeah.
Spend
We,
a
we,
dollar,
we did
throw-
that.
throw a ball
How
at
many?
No,
Selectmen.
that was the rain year. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, it did happen years before you were on the board,
Yeah.
because
I think it's
2
changed.
years in a row I was in that dunk tank.
Okay, I'll do
And
it. I'll
I
jump
will
in.
tell you, that water was cold.
I've never done it. I heard.
Oh,
I heard
it's
it was cold.
fun, actually.
They
It's,
fill
the
it with
kids,
fire.
for the kids, it's a blast.
I think it'd be better for the citizens. Yeah, I think they're gonna have a blast too.
Well, some would, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
yeah.
I think we could raise
Yeah.
money for Lions.
The other very quick things, three quick things I want to say is the sixth grade promotion or graduation is this Thursday.
9:30 for those that need
9:30.
to know.
And I know they are, the school committee has planned a little bit of a focus on the fact that it's the last promotion from the Freeman Centennial School. So for any of those graduates who may be hanging around from years past, might want to attend.
When it was the Centennial School,
Freeman.
Center School.
It was the Norfolk Central School
Norfolk Central School.
before the Freeman Centennial.
That was 83, 84.
Yeah, something like that.
So the rock chips, when you were taking notes.
Stop.
The,
You're pushing it. He is now on the list. I am clean. I am now free after that remark.
I just wanted to, although the spring sports all had a great season, I just wanted to point out a little bit the softball team I know had a great season. They were the two-time returning champs for state championships. Weren't able to do it this year, but they still got into the Eastern championship. So that was congratulations on a very successful season. I'm sure they're disappointed by their standards, but by any other standard, they had a great year. So, and Norfolk's own Nick Ahern has had a great year for Severian, and they are now, I think they're playing tonight in the state championship for baseball. So congratulations to Nick and his teammates.
Great.
Congratulations to all the King Philip graduates this year and the Freeman Centennial graduates. There is a open house at Freeman Centennial next.
I think it's the 15th, I think. Saturday the 15th?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
15th is
Wasn't there something Thursday or the walkthrough? I thought
It's a Thursday, isn't it? Thursday, Friday?
Something's a Thursday for the
Thursday's
Thursday's
graduation.
Oh, but there's
No,
something
no.
else a walkthrough. Remember?
At night, 5
Yeah.
to 7.
Send that.
Well, there is one. Check with the school
Please check the
committee
school.
before we misinform
Wait,
you and you all show up and there's
528-1225.
nobody there.
Or Jack will put it on the Norfolk.
Right, because
Facebook
they are having a
page.
walkthrough, and for those that have old memories, as I do, where all my kids graduated from those schools, it'd be fun to walk through and say goodbye.
Yeah.
Because it
And
will
then-
be torn down. I think they start July 1st.
And then September 8th, I think, is the tentative groundbreaking, or not, the...
Opening
the
day.
Opening day for the
Hopefully, we've had the
ceremony
groundbreaking.
for the
We
school.
hope
Yeah,
that's
we had the
over. Yeah, we
groundbreaking,
hope.
sorry.
Yeah.
The school looks fantastic.
So I was at the transfer station on Monday doing some work in the KP can shed, and I noticed some trucks. Jack, Verizon and N-Star trucks
Yes.
are.
And we haven't flipped the switch yet, but they are working away at
So we'll have a working solar field by the beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm still shooting for July 1st.
Seeing as that's your neighborhood, can you also get them to turn on the tower?
The tower?
This tower,
Oh, well.
they paid us rent for 2 years.
I know it, and they
And it's
haven't
not-
flipped the switch.
Turn the
They have
antenna
not
on.
flipped the switch for 2 years.
Which is why I don't have Verizon.
AT&T.
Yeah, AT&T has great coverage in town.
Little plug.
Well, I used to have AT&T, and they were great in Norfolk. The problem was when you left and you went anywhere else in the United States, your reception was terrible. So, but I don't know if we have anybody that we can, if it'll make any difference, but I just don't get it.
Well, you know, actually,
They have been making progress. They're actually doing work down there now. So
Are they? Okay.
But it was a standstill for a long time. And
Long time, over a year.
Butch was calling. Bob
Yep.
McGee's been calling.
their permit can get pulled.
Well, they're still paying us rent.
They're paying us
so
rent.
I don't know.
Yeah,
if I
but
wanna.
they have to
Pay
have a
attention to
permit from the
yours.
zoning board, which could get pulled.
We just want it turned on.
Well, you can threaten them with that.
We can. We just
Because
want it
there's,
turned
you know, a public good utility.
You can
on.
look.
Okay. Jack, anything else?
Just a motion to oh minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we need an executive session this evening, do we?
No, I can talk to my liaison about a couple of things.
Okay. Minutes?
No problems. I read them over, so.
You're the
it's all good
clerk.
by me.
So we just
You need to make a motion to
Okay,
accept.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 8th special meeting, May 15th, and May 29th, regular and executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we do not need an executive session.
No.
Okay. Any further business?
No.
John? Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Our next meeting is, gosh, July, when is it, Marion?
26.
Thank you. June 26th. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you all have a wonderful and healthy weekend. And, well, we're almost to the weekend. What day is this? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Well, it's a long haul, but we'll get there eventually. But thank you for joining us, and good night.